get my mic setting here. Okay, welcome in. This is the in-home elderly care podcast, videocast that I do a live stream on, talking about doing just that in-home elderly care for a loved one, or it doesn't have to be elderly care. It could just be doing in-home care for somebody that's terminal or somebody that just has a condition that puts you in a situation where you have to be responsible for taking care of them inside of the house, you doing it as a person off of the street, not a healthcare professional. I've been using my grandmother as a case study for this, Ruth Kenton, and kind of going through some of the items that I went through with her when I did that for her, took care of her at home. And if you looked at any of these videos, then you see that there's several different topics I've already discussed and gone over. And I usually have a slideshow together that I also present with with these videos. I don't have a slides deck today. I'm going to do something a little different and just kind of talk to camera. And what I'm calling this is this particular episode is called Perceptions. And really the reason why I wanted to call it that is because people are not going to understand what it is. People who are not involved just are not going to understand this, and they're going to say that they understand or give you verbal support, and that's great. That's obviously better than not giving you verbal support, but they're just not going to fully understand what it is to take this task on. Let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and boom. Let me just go ahead and go full screen. Okay, cool. Yeah, so they're just not going to understand it. Like I said, they'll give you verbal feedback saying, wow, great job, etc. But they're just not going to get it. And you're also trying to run your regular life, meaning like whatever kind of career that you've got and your personal life, whatever that looks like. And they're not going to understand that balance either. And it's just something that you're going to have to deal with. The idea being that the perception is that you're not ever really heard. And that could be not completely true, but just be prepared that if you take on this, if you do the elderly care for somebody, and it's just you and the person you're taking care of, which I had several points in my care for my grandmother that was the case, but I certainly didn't do it all by myself. So it wasn't like that all the time, but you probably will have moments like that, and you're probably going to talk about it with other people. It could be friends or other family, other stakeholders. We talked about who stakeholders are. They're just not going to understand unless they're involved. And even, I guess what's inspiring me to have this conversation tonight is that even after it's over, which it is for my care of my grandmother, she passed away in September of 23. Even when I talk about doing this with people, even after the fact, they don't understand. And they can say, oh, I've got kids. I know what it's like to take care of, another person that's, under your care. And there are some things that translates with having children, but it isn't exactly apples to apples. And I'll say it just from this standpoint. One of the reasons why it's not apples to apples is because the trajectory of things. See, kids over time, generally speaking, continue to do this. So the level of care that you have to give them on a long enough timeline eventually goes to neutral or nothing. But with elderly people, today is the best version or form of them that you're going to see. It only does this. It's only the opposite. And it's uh, to a certain extent, maybe you start with a kid, and the level of care is like really high. But again, eventually that point, you get to a point where that isn't the case. It's the exact opposite for elderly people. Um, the level of care only goes up. It's only up, and it can be a more difficult process to watch unfold as well because, again, with kids, you there's a sense of inspiration that children have, and can give parents or just older people, um, grown-ups in general. But it's not the same. You're watching somebody when you're doing elderly care. You're watching somebody decline, and that's what it is. And I don't think that it's not an easy thing to understand. It's not even like the people that you're talking to. It's not even their fault that they can't understand it, but it is a reality that they just are not going to understand it. And I think that's an important thing to think about and to speak on because it's taxing. It's taxing. It's taxing to do this, and then it's taxing to try and speak to somebody about it and have them hoping that they can understand and they can't understand, and then they're verbalizing or they're saying the things that they think you would like to hear, that would come across like you understand, but there's a gap there. And like I was saying, even today when I tell people about it, it sounds like I think it sounds just like anything else that you like. Hey, I used to have a dog. Oh wow, you had a dog? That's awesome. Man, and I really love that dog. And I do generally love dogs. Um, but to and it sounds like just any other thing that you would do in life. Um, but it really is a unique thing. It's not something that you um, that's incredibly common. It's not something that uh, it's not as routine as it might sound or straightforward as it might sound to somebody who doesn't know. And I think that's man, it's just a difficult part of the process. You go to work and you're working with people, and most of them have the proverbial normal life, meaning that they've got a spouse, most likely, or kids, most likely. I mean, if you're 22, maybe not, but if you're 32, 42, 52, probably so. And the more you grow in your career, the more you spend time around senior people professionally, though the likelihood that they do have those things increases, and they just can't understand. And I think that you might run across families from time to time that they try to do that. They've got their spouse and their kids and their life and their professional life, and they're trying to do all of that. And then they also bring in, an aging parent, whether it be from the wife or the husband's family. And a lot of times you see that it's too much. It's totally, yeah, it's totally taxing. I mean, I had a buddy. This is one of the things that I spoke on in one of the first videos about doing the initial assessment and vetting all other options and having an idea of what the medical condition is and what the needs are going to be and the level of effort that's going to be needed, and looking at like certain conditions like Alzheimer's, which is you know mentally a mental deterioration condition. I had a guy that I knew, and his parents did that. I think it was his grandfather was having dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever the condition was. It was something to that effect. And he said that he was telling me these stories, and I mean, like, just heartbreaking stories, number one, but number two, like, just trying to deal with that. And it was as much as I had to do for Ruth, I will say that what I had to do for her was not as intense as some of the stuff that his family experienced. They said that he locked himself in the bedroom one day and couldn't get out, and he was there all day by himself. Or maybe I'm even misremembering. Maybe they had to lock him in the bedroom or do something like that. And like that's actually another good point, and why it's important to have a plan going in, because if you don't want to put yourself or the customer in a situation where you're going to do something inhumane or something that can be perceived inhumane, even if it's the right thing to do. Um, yeah, it was something like that. And then he told me that they were at breakfast one morning and his grandfather was eating cereal. And he said he stopped and paused and looked up at him and asked him, "Are you my father?" Like, crazy. I mean, just just a crazy story, and how heartbreaking that must be, to experience that. And even like as he's telling me that, I think I get the gravity of the moment, but I certainly cannot understand what it would be like to take care of somebody in that condition. And they eventually put him in a professional care facility. They had no other choice. I mean, his condition was just getting that bad. Um, yeah, so that's something to definitely keep in mind. Just knowing that it's gonna be something that really you're gonna be the only one that understands, truly understands, and that's okay. I try not to be a feelings person. Not that I don't have feelings or don't think that you can speak on feelings, but I'm very mission driven and mission oriented. And if there's a task to get done, then that's where the focus needs to be. It doesn't need to be on how particularly you're feeling about it in the moment, um, because look, things that are worth doing, hey, things that are worth doing are difficult. They are, and if everyone stopped doing what they were doing because it was difficult and they were having feelings about it, a lot less really great work would have gotten done, over the history of humanity. And so, like, even though I would talk to people, or like I'm saying, even today, I talk to people and they don't understand, that's no indicator that the level of work that I put in was not good, or uh, was like a deterrent for me. I mean, like I said, it's over now, but even like going through the process uh, was not a deterrent for me um, to continue on. I got to a point at the very end, the last couple of months, where I was unhappy with my work. We pretty much had Ruth set to where we had people coming in and taking care of her, and she had around the clock care. And I'll talk about that in future videos, putting together a staff. And she was in a good spot. And I did move out a couple of months before she passed away. But also, too, there was a lot of moving parts in the family. And like I've said before, families are complicated. But there was a lot of moving parts going on, and we could all sense that she was getting close to the end. And I wasn't a proper candidate to be living there when she died. That's another thing, too. When people die, things move fast. And if you've ever experienced, a death of someone in the family or someone close to you, you know that, like, they die on Monday, the funeral's on Thursday, and then on Friday, you're like cleaning out their closet, and they are to never walk in the front door again. And that's how fast it moves. And so I wasn't, just because of the way some family dynamic stuff was set up, and things that were out of my control. And I knew that Ruth was in a great spot and that she would be well looked after and taken care of. I knew that it was the season for me was to um, go to my next step, and I did. Um, so yeah, that's it. Like I said, I don't have slides today. This is just a quick off the cuff stream, and I wanted to speak on persevering through experiencing something where you know that you're doing good work. You know that you are. You feel it like, as deep in your bones as possible. And there I am. That's the way I'll use feelings. I'll say it as a way to speak on being so confidently assured in what you are doing in an affirmative way. But yet those around you or others around you cannot understand what's going on. It's no kind of deterrent. Press forward. And really, that's in all things in life. You press forward anyways. I I knew what I was doing was exactly where I needed to be, and uh, I stayed faithful to that. You know. All right, so we're gonna continue on in the series. Maybe the next video we will look at putting together a team, whether it be stakeholders or just I'll break down some of the people that we brought into the situation and kind of how it came about and it evolved. And we'll just keep talking about working through this process and taking care of those that are aging that we love. All right. Take care. See you next time.